Hello, everybody. Another week. Well, things have changed in the last week. I hope that this recording is working okay because everybody seems to be using Teams at the moment and the quality is not very good. But anyway, at least you'll understand the words that I'm saying. A lot has happened, as I say. Unfortunately, we have got our first case in the old vicarage in Starlingborough, where my daughter is, of an individual, in fact, two individuals who've contracted COVID-19. I want to say, as we have told all of the families, that we have got this under control to the extent that anything can be under control. This is a scenario that we have planned for on the basis that we always plan for the worst and hope for the best. We've got all the sort of processes in place. We know who ground zero it was, or zero, it's not ground zero, sorry, patient zero was. We believe we've tracked it all through and we're taking all precautions that we can take. Obviously, this is a worrying time for families, parents like myself, like all of you who also have your sons and daughters there. But please rest assured, I do obviously have the benefit of knowing everything that's going on. We are really got this thing as much as it can be under control. As I say, as much as it can be. We've got staff lined up, we've got processes lined up, we've got people we've got individuals being supported in bubbles. We're doing everything and more that you could possibly hope. And it's very much based on this idea that we plan for the worst. We've had the whole team have been tested. Although we are hopeful that the amount of asymptomatic tests may be very low, if any at all, we hope. Nevertheless, our plans are based on, contingency plans are based on that we will have a very high level of people coming back asymptomatic. So we're putting into place all of those resources. As long as we can keep the resources in place to support a home when it does get into this situation, so much the better. What I can tell you is that in the last 7 days, we have tested 238 staff, which is fantastic, which is how we picked up on this issue. We've got 6 staff who are positive, 2 in this particular home, 4 at other homes. Again, they're all self-isolating. We are monitoring everything very tightly. And obviously we have these 2 individuals, one of whom actually has moved out of the home and was moving out of the home. And we wish them very well in their new home and hope and pray that everything is fine with them. We do have a high level of absenteeism this week, obviously because we've got not only a lot of people under track and trace and who have got symptoms or not symptoms and so on off, which is what happens. We think it will be a very difficult 4-week period as people go off under track and trace and for other reasons, until they start to actually come back. So in a way, in the first 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks, we're going to take the biggest hit because there will be people that are going off. Then just as people will again be isolating, we will have people coming back into the service. So the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks are going to be difficult. They're going to be more difficult, obviously, because of the situation at the old vicarage. And I do absolutely earnestly ask all staff, please do not have any unplanned absences. It is a nightmare at the moment for us to fill all of that, and you'd be letting down the individuals we're privileged to support and your workmates. So, please do not do that. It adds to a complicated situation. I want to say that the staff are just fantastic. There are very few people who do this. They tend to be perhaps people who've joined the organization later on, or recently, I should say. And it's just understanding the significance of the big part that each member of staff plays in every individual's lives. So it's really important. But I have to say that, staff are just being fantastic. They're picking up extra shifts and so on. And the other thing is that we have in reserve all of our all of the SCE staff. And I think we've got about 45 staff from the Social Care Exchange who are trained. Some of them, a number of those guys have been carers anyway and have moved into other roles, and they are our sort of backbone fallback situation. So look, we plan for the worst and hope for the best. We have the resources there. We are monitoring it. Everybody's onto this 24/7. Please don't worry, even if it is a worrying time. Your sons, daughters, my daughter, they're in the best possible place. They've got the best possible staff, the best possible management supporting them. And as I say, I just really want to thank all of our staff and management, because it's not just a job, and that becomes very clear from the way everybody's actually responding. This is much more than a job to these guys, and this is where sort of our ethos and everything that we've worked so hard over 16 years to build up, it really is paying off in circumstances like this. I want to just talk very briefly about visits. I'm going to say very briefly because I've really asked Jo Hurley to do her piece because she understands all the ins and outs. But we have put in place a process for visits in the lockdown situation, which Jo can explain.
Earlier this week, following the Prime Minister's announcement about lockdown happening, when he announced it on Saturday, we said that we would update people later in the week as to when the care home visiting guidance came out. That came out yesterday. So now we know what we can and we can't do for the next few weeks. The guidance is still very much aimed at older people's services, and that's a challenge that we've had right through the pandemic, is that so much guidance that comes out is aimed at older people's services. So within the guidance, it suggests that visits are enabled by doing things such as putting screens in place to separate a room. We know that most of the individuals we support wouldn't tolerate that. It suggests having window visits. Again, that isn't something that would work for the individuals we support. It suggests drive-by visits, and it also specifically talks about virtual visits being an alternative to be used where possible. So what we needed to do was to look at the guidance and see what we can do over the next few weeks. What's really important to state is that what we want to do over the next few weeks is to facilitate visiting where it's necessary and where it's needed. However, our general aim is to make sure that we can facilitate visits at Christmas, because we know that that's such an important time for the individuals that we support. We know that for a significant number of the individuals we support, once the Christmas tree goes up and they see the Christmas activities, at some point they expect to go home. We would class this as an extraordinary time of year for the individuals, and therefore we will be working with families over the next few weeks to plan those visits. So what we will be doing over the next few weeks is actively engaging with families to look at what you would like a Christmas visit to be, how you would like to make that work, and we want to try and facilitate that. But in order to do that, we need to be really clear over the next few weeks that we do visits where they're necessary and in a COVID-safe way, so that we can ensure that they happen mid-December as we plan. Okay, so in terms of the visits that we can facilitate, the government guidance is quite clear that you must only travel when it's necessary over the next few weeks. Therefore, they're saying if it's reasonably necessary for you to travel to visit somebody in a care home, then you should. But it's the reasonably necessary. We need to understand if it is important and vital to that individual's well-being to have a visit before the 2nd of December, when the current lockdown regulations are reviewed. What we want to do is ensure that all the visits are individually planned, unique to that person, and make sure that it fulfills the need that they have. Wherever possible, we must ensure that the visits are outside. As I spoke about earlier, we can't put screens down a room so that the family are on one side and the individual is on another. That just doesn't work. So therefore, what we need to do is facilitate visits outside wherever possible. We understand that it is November coming towards December, and therefore the weather is not brilliant, but outside is the safest place for visits to happen. As before, we will need families to wear PPE when they are visiting. That's something that we will provide, and there isn't any change there in what we've been doing. We need to follow the same rules that apply to all individuals in England at the moment. Therefore, one individual is allowed to meet another individual outside. So visits have to be one family member at any one time. We can't facilitate two people visiting an individual at the same time. So what we would do is if a parent wanted to come and spend some time with an individual at the park or at the woods or whatever it may be, and that person then returns to the car, and then the second parent comes and spends time, then we can facilitate that. But what we can't do is have both parents there at once. That's the law that's out there at the moment, so we need to do that. We need all visits to be pre-planned, pre-booked. We must ensure that the visits are facilitated for everybody where it's necessary, and therefore if somebody has been visiting every week and they feel that it is necessary for some visits to continue, we will have to have conversations about whether that needs to be every 2 weeks, because we have a limited resource and we need to spread it around so everybody gets their fair share at visiting. If visits can't take place in the way that we've discussed, then we will have to look at the exceptional circumstances. We will have to engage through a best interest process as to what is right for that individual and what that visit needs to look like and why it needs to be different. But as I said previously, every visit will be looked at on an individual basis. What we can't do is facilitate any visits where we have at a location where we have a positive case of COVID-19. That's just something that we have to put a blanket no. That won't be happening, but we will keep you updated, and as soon as visiting starts again, then we will obviously make you aware and try to arrange a visit as soon as it is possible to do so. But just again to say, our overriding aim is that we want to make Christmas happen in as normal a way for the individuals as we can. We want to support people to come home to their families. Some people who haven't been away since back in March when all of this started. That's our overriding aim, and we just need to now get through into December and make that happen and make Christmas special for those that won't be going home as well. We will make that special in the homes, but we need to preserve our staff team and make everything safe for everyone over the next few weeks.
So, difficult 4 weeks ahead. Let's let's cut the bull. It is going to be difficult 4 weeks, but we've had this before. We had it very bad in March, April, because we didn't have supplies. All of that supply chain was not there. Different this time, different set of circumstances. Unfortunately, the inevitable has happened. And I guess it is inevitable when you look at the numbers that it would get into one of the homes. Maybe we'll get into another home, but we're on top of it and we're monitoring it 24/7. And that's the best that I can say. We will make this work. It will be fine at the end of the day. So thank you very much, and I wish you all a very nice weekend and a great week next week. And I'm sure, hopefully, that things will look better. And if they don't look better, we will still be on top of them anyway. So all the very best. Thank you.